Good afternoon, everyone. It's Don, and this is Gold Wingnut Live. Thank you for joining me. Looks like we have, 38 people on board so far. That's great. So today's episode, I got a few topics we're going to cover. We're going to try to, at least. We're going to talk about the FEMA funds for the cleanup efforts. A lot of controversy over that. We'll talk about landowner elections. This affects CDs 13, 14, and 15, as well as Middleton A and the Eastport and Middleton commercial districts. We'll talk about the fire bond. Village Center Community Development District decided to issue a $30 million bond to pay for the fire stations. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about Station 50 and where it's at. We've got a couple of other things. So let's see what our questions are to start with. John Alexander says, "Hi Don, we are closing in 2 weeks and have questions about house numbers. We don't have a coach light and are wondering if public safety has any preference on house number types." Wow. I don't think I know of a house that doesn't have some sort of coach light with, because we have so few street lights, they put in the coach lights. Basically, and we get to pay for the street lighting. But looking at what's going on throughout the community, I've seen them stuck on windows. My house in Village of Hillsborough has it as metal numbers above the garage door. I've seen it on the sides of the doors, metal numbers. Basically, it needs to be visible from the street. I'm not aware of any requirements, though. The place to call would be the district office website. Go to districtgov.org, and there's you'll find the number right there. Let's see. Pam says, "Hey Don, it seems like the Villages is taking a long time to get the trees put back from the storm. Do you think the palm trees are still viable, or have they died?" I'm not sure who is responsible for those trees at this point, at least on Central Parkway, because Central Parkway was turned over to the county. So I think that's the county's responsibility to right the trees or whatever they're doing. I know that having gone down there the last couple of days, I have seen them putting burlap canvas on the root balls for the trees that have fallen over and that they think are viable, and keeping them wetted down so they're replantable. As far as some of the palms, palms are weird. Palms aren't really trees, they're really grass. And they don't have a huge root system, not like an oak tree or something like that. But as we saw during the storm, even the old oak trees with their massive root systems, they didn't hold up as well. There are some trees that aren't viable, and they're removing them. I've seen that going up and down Morse Boulevard, north of 44, or excuse me, north of 44, between 44 and 466A. But they're trying to save as many as they can. Obviously, trees are very expensive to plant, and they are a huge part of the landscaping here in the Villages. Steve says, "Hi, Don. It was nice meeting you today." Steve, it was good talking to you today. We were over at which was that? My gosh, I can't believe I'm forgetting the name of this. Wellpoint, the Wellpoint Recreation Area and Postal Station. I was there doing some flying for their next video before the weather gets too bad, but the winds were really kicking up. I got some flying in today, but not much. Let's see. East Coaster says, "Backyard landscaping. What can I do? What can I not do?" Ooh. And you're in Shady Brook. What can you do? What can you not do? I know part of that depends on whether you back up to a road. Another part has to do with how tolerant your neighbors are. Honestly, if you're doing some major changes, submit it to the ARC. just to make sure. If they don't have any purview over it or they don't care, they're just going to send it back and say, no comment or approved, what have you. Your front yard, different story, side yard, different story, because those are visible from the street. So Mike says, I enjoyed our golf outing yesterday. So Mike and I and Rick, the guy who does Golfing the Villages, and Jerry Cook from the Villages Newcomers, we were a foursome playing at the Rotary Club noon golf tournament on Saturday. It was pretty embarrassing. It was embarrassing. If it hadn't have been for Rick, we probably wouldn't have done as well as we did. We shot 4 under, but I think the winning score was like 13 under. It was ridiculous. It was a best ball, a scramble. But we had a lot of fun. Enjoyed spending time with you, Mike and Rick, and of course Jerry. We had a lot of good things. On the subject of Jerry and Linda, the Villages Newcomers, on the 7th of November at Lake Sumter Landing at Cody's, they're doing a fundraiser for the hurricane victims. It's a buffet. It's $10. All the proceeds go to a charity to support the victims of Hurricane Milton. And I'm going to be there. I know Jerry and Linda are going to be there. Obviously, they're hosting it. So it looks to be a good time. $10 for a buffet. I haven't seen that in about a decade and a half. Yeah, that was it's something that's really worthwhile. And on that same subject, this past Monday, we were supposed to have a fundraiser for the firefighters' Thanksgiving. Honestly, folks, with all the misery that so many around us are in, it didn't feel right to be partying and out having a good time while these other folks are suffering so bad. I know that seems a little off sometimes, but it just, honestly, it did not feel right. And after seeing the devastation, both on TV and driving around Sumter County, it was like I couldn't do it in good conscience. We're going to try to do something soon. I'm not sure what. If you are interested in helping out with the firefighter Thanksgiving dinner, you can go to my website, goldwingnut.com/Thanksgiving. That'll take you to the page that talks about the Thanksgiving dinner that we're doing for all the fire stations here in the villages. We have a coordinator that coordinates the food and everything else for each fire station. They work with their community, social groups in the neighborhood, what have you, to get donations of food. And the food is really the best part, in my opinion. We come from so many places here in the villages. We come from, all parts of the country. Everybody has those local dishes that are family favorites, and they're pretty awesome. I mean, and the firefighters really love the variety that they get. So if you have some dish it's been in your family, secret family recipe for the last 300 years, what have you, and you want to share that, make a portion of it for the fire stations. We don't need 10 pounds of mashed potatoes. Remember, there's normally only 4 or 5 firefighters in a fire station at one time. But talk with the coordinators. You'll find their information on my webpage, goldwingnut.com/Thanksgiving. And if you want to make a cash donation, there is a link to GoFundMe on that. You can also find it. It's 2024 Thanksgiving for VPSD on GoFundMe. All the money goes to the Gold Wingnut Foundation, which is a 501c3, and then we in turn write a check to the VPSD for any money that's left over. Cash donations are first used to buy things like sodas, plastic containers for leftovers, anything that might be missing at a fire station. And then we, what's left over is then given to the relief fund for the firefighters in case they have, a sick child, or, somebody's going through some, they lose their house or what have you, which is very plausible right now, especially if they live in the south part of the county. But last year we donated $3,625. I had to look it up this afternoon. And that went to their relief fund, and they were very appreciative of it. And of course, the firefighters love the food. These guys can eat. Guys, I say guys, I mean men and women, because we have both here in the villages and in Sumter County, all very great people. Let's get back to the questions. Let's see. Mushke says there are homes in Wellpoint that have no coach lights, but I think they're going to be lifestyle homes. Okay, I know which ones you're talking about. I honestly didn't pay attention to the coach lights, but could very well be. They change what they do here all the time. Let's see. They are optional. We opted out of them at our design meeting. It was a long story behind our decision. It's great. Frank says, thanks for all the information. Aloha. Are you going to Hawaii, Frank? Yeah, come on. All right. Let's see. Muskie says, never knew you could opt out. So Don says, Don Delaney says, do you have a premiere date for video 150? So I was out shooting today. I'm going to be editing all week. So if all goes well, it will be next weekend that it'll come out. Let's see. Wow. Okay. What else? So let's talk about the FEMA funds, since we got no more questions here. FEMA funds. Yeah, if you read online, there's a lot of outrage because the villages is applying for relief funds from FEMA because of the cleanup. I find it kind of ironic because I looked at some of the names of some of these people that were making these comments on certain pseudo news websites and on Nextdoor, and you go back and you see them saying, oh, we're on a fixed income, you should freeze the amenity fees. Oh, it's outrageous that they're raising the maintenance assessments. Well, where do you think this money comes from initially? It comes from your maintenance assessment. It comes out of the amenity fees. And we are a political entity as far as a community, just like any other town, just like Coleman, just like Sumter County, Wildwood. We are no different, except we are a group of community development districts. We have limited funds also. This is what these funds are for. I will tell you, after Irma, it took us literally years to get final determinations for the money that we applied for, and most of it was disapproved. They ran out of money. I don't have a problem with the government, the district government applying for the FEMA funds because it impacts me as an individual, as a taxpayer. And where do those FEMA funds come from? Oh yeah, they came from me and you as taxpayers. So, why should we be treated any differently than anyone else? Yes, we were not as impacted as devastatingly as many of the other communities, and we were blessed. We were fortunate. I will say that after driving around, I saw more roof damage this time than I did after Irma, or I don't remember, Irene, I don't remember what it was. There were a couple, 2 or 3 years ago, we had another hurricane come through, did some roof damage. But I'd never seen this much roof damage. And there was really no, um, no apparent rhyme or reason why, they were coming off. One house would be affected, the next three wouldn't, and then two would be. Even in the new areas where the homes were under construction, um, there were some just newly completed and half completed roofs. Some of them had shingles torn off of them. Others did not. And it's just like, what the heck? I mean, what? There was no apparent rhyme or reason as to why. Just like when a hurricane or a tornado comes through, it'll take out one house and leave all the houses around it. It's just unfortunate, but there was a lot of roof damage this time. Please take care of your roofs if you had some damage. If you don't take care of it, you're going to get leakage, and then you're really going to be sunk. Let's see. All right. So we talked about the FEMA funds. One of my favorites, Landowner Elections. So this past Friday, I didn't make it there. I had some other things going on, but I had some people share some information with me about the nominations for the Landowner Elections. The nominations were made for District 14 and 15. Those were the two I was most interested in. Obviously, Middleton A, the two commercial districts, Eastport and Middleton, and I believe 13 also had one landowner election. So let's talk about this position as a district supervisor. One of the things I heard in the feedback was that how do I put this? There were a lot of upset people in 14 that were there. And when I heard that, I realized what was going on here. They're upset because of the maintenance assessment that went up. And I will tell you this. If you think if you get elected, and then you're going to go in there and change the world, and you're going to stop this increase, you better rethink and get a little more education. These are actual costs we have to deal with. If you don't deal with the costs, then you're not allowed to operate in a deficit under Florida law. You have to have a balanced budget. So if you don't have the revenue, you've got to cut the services. So what are you going to cut? You're going to stop cutting the grass, stop pruning the trees, stop taking care of the retention ponds. You're going to have to give up something. I guarantee you, you're not going to just go in and say, well, we're not going to do a 20% increase next year. I got news for you. You're going to see that increase. Do I think the developer will chip in $2 million next year? I'd make book on it. I'm not a gambler, but, I will put a bottle of Glenfiddich 21 up if they do pitch in, but I don't see it. I just don't. Just too much. I think it was a mistake what they did to start with. But anyway, so landowner elections. The election itself for 14 and 15 will be on the 5th of November, and it will be at Everglades. So you go to your normal voting precinct or your normal voting precinct on election day, or one of the multiple early voting sites to vote in the general election. And then to vote in the landowner election, you have to go to the Everglades Recreation Center, and it's a separate election process there where you cast your vote. And the developer, based on their acreage that they own, they get a certain number of votes also. They're going to be voting also. All right. Oh, I love this one. Johnny Mac, here you go. Says, Don, do you think that all the roof damage due to rushing all these houses and subpar buildings? Johnny Mac, I want to ask you, what do you base this claim on that it's subpar building? Because it's not. Okay, I was in the construction industry for 20 years. I've seen them building. They're not rushing either. The reason homes go up so fast here in the villages is because everything is coordinated. Quite honestly, you could not build 300 plus homes a month if you ran it like most companies do when they build houses. Prime example. Let's say you're having a cinder block house built. Well, they pour the foundation. Normally what happens is they pour the foundation, and once the foundation is poured, then the construction manager will call the block guy and say, okay, send me out my load of block for this house. And the guy at the block plant says, okay, it'll be out there next Tuesday. And the guy says, okay, so what happens between now and next Tuesday? The house sits. Nothing's going on. Here, everything is scheduled. Okay, so they pour the concrete. They know the date the concrete is going to be poured for the slab. 2 days later, the block is on site. Okay, and 2 days after that, you got 25 block masons there setting block. Okay, it's a very coordinated effort. They have very specialized contractors, so they don't have one contractor doing 8 different jobs. They'll do one job and they move on to the next house. So it's not rushed. It's just well coordinated. It's not subpar construction process. People, let me ask you this. Is a Mercedes a subpar built car? Is it? I mean, it comes off an assembly line. It takes, 6-8 hours to build a Mercedes, same as it does a Ford. Okay? So there's no difference there. It's just a very efficient assembly process. That doesn't change the quality. That doesn't, this concept, this idea that the villages build subpar is, it's poppycock. Sorry. Let's see. Muskie says, Don, thank you for joining my house and roof, joining my roof and the recommendations of Roof Max. The job took them 5 hours and was more expensive, but I think it was worth it. My roof looks brand new. So Muskie used a company called Roof Max out of Orlando. Instead of her house is, Muskie, I want to say 7 years old, maybe 8 years old. She lives over in Finney. And it is, her roof was stained. It could use some cleaning. She used Roof Max. They came in, they treated it, rejuvenated it. It's an interesting process, and several of my neighbors here in Hillsborough have done it. Let's see. Frank says Fireman's Dinner sounds great. Everyone's special dishes. Sounds like a church dinner, probably bigger. Sounds like Earth Angels all around the villages helping impressive. So Johnny, let's go back to your question. You said, based on my experience and tenure here, not blaming or finger pointing. They have been building at this same rate for the last 20 years. Okay. What's different is you see it now. Okay. It used to be that there was kind of like this invisible barrier, and everything was over here was built. Okay, there was a rec center here, there was shopping and all that, and then there was this magic line, and that's where they were selling houses, and then everything over here was under construction, and you didn't see it under construction until they moved that line back a little bit and a little bit more, and each week they'd move that line back a little bit more, different houses going up for sale. So nobody ever saw the construction process. Well, when they started in Finney, okay, all of a sudden that whole process was turned upside down, because they started at the other end, over by the Finney Recreation Center. and people were driving through the construction zone and they were going, wow, look at all this construction. Well, it was no different in Osceola Hills or Lake Denham or Lake Deaton. These are places that were being built when when I first moved here. And, you just didn't see it. Okay, now you see it because we drive through it. It's a different landscape, different access. So it's not rushed. It's the same process they've been using for years, and the houses hold up extremely well under the storms. Florida has very stringent requirements for hurricane construction and home construction. So there you go. Let's see. Okay, Kyle Reed says yes. When that inspection comes, it's got to be right. Everything has to be done. Everything has to be up to code. That's a fact. Yeah, the Sumter County inspectors aren't pulling any punches. I mean, the inspectors for Sumter County have a good working relationship with the builders. Okay, and that means all the subcontractors and the developer, they have a good working relationship. That doesn't mean they cut them any slack. Okay, I've met some of these inspectors a few years ago. I watched them do some of their inspections. They were nitpicky. I mean, some of the stuff was like, I'm thinking to myself, man, you are picky. But it's okay. I'd rather picky and make sure they get it right. On the flip side, the contractors know what's expected of them. And they know it's cheaper to do it the first time the right way than it is to have to come back after an inspection. Because when that inspection fails, it holds up the home construction, and the villages, who is the general contractor, they come down hard on the subs that cause the inspection to fail. Oh, sorry. All right. Let's see. Muskie says 7 years. They found about 40 or 50 shingles. They found would blow off when with their blower. So they glued them back down. They also resealed around all the pipes, etc. Yeah, good. Let's see. We talked about landowner elections. Good questions coming up. Good question, Johnny. I didn't mean to attack you, and I apologize if that's the way it came across. I've been here. I've been watching this construction. I've photographed over 200 homes in the last 5 years being constructed, and in that process of photographing them, I look for things that are wrong. Okay, because I'm serving as the eyes for my customer, and if I see something that is wrong, I'm going to tell them, and they go back to their construction manager and they get these things fixed. And I will tell you, it's very few instances where there's been problems. But again, they do it right. They do it fast because they're very, very proficient. Watching the drywallers, I've tried to do drywall. I'll say I won't say I've done drywall. I've tried to do drywall. Oh my gosh, that's more art than it is anything else, and I am not an artist. But yeah, they work hard. All right, let's take just a quick break, and I'll be right back.
A new wood garage door? Kelly, that's going to cost a fortune.
It might not be as bad as you think. Let's crunch some numbers. Here's the perfect solution. We're going to use Garage Skins.
Garage Skins?
Upgrade your home today with Garage Skins, the simple and elegant solution that transforms your garage door in minutes without breaking the bank. Easy, affordable, beautiful.
All right, I'm back. So that was an ad for Garage Skins. They're today's sponsor, and we appreciate what they do. Theirs is an interesting product. It attaches to your garage door. It's magnetic. It looks to be about 1/2 inch thick. Very nice looking. There's a house over in DeLuna that has it. And the gentleman who owns it, he sent me a video he took out in the middle of the storm when Milton came through. He wanted to see how his garage skins held up in the storm, and they held up. They didn't come off. They didn't move a bit the entire time. So I went over and I talked to his wife, and I spoke to him, and they were very happy with the product. So if you want to add a little something to pizzazz to your front of your house, that's definitely an option. So let's talk about what happened this past week at Village Center Community Development District. Village Center Community Development District, if you don't know which one that is, that's the commercial district that, the original commercial district around Spanish Springs area. And they are, let's call it the mother district, if you will. They handle the bulk of the administrative processes. So the district staff, which is, community standards and the administrative offices, and all those areas up above Starbucks in Lake Sumter Landing, soon to be moving to Brownwood in the old Street of Dreams building. They all are contracted through Village Center Community Development District, and they're the general administrative district. But anyway, this past week they made the decision to issue a bond for, I believe it was $30 million for the construction of 4 fire stations. One of them is already built, which is 47. That's the one on Warm Springs Avenue over by the village of Chitty Chatty. 48, which just they finally occupied, which is at the corner of Central Parkway and Marsh Bend Trail. 49, which is under construction, and 50, which we'll talk about in just a minute. These bonds, instead of leasing the building, okay, from the developer, they said, you know what, it's not worth the headaches, and they decided, okay, we'll issue the bond, and they'll use that money to pay for the fire stations. 6 in one hand, a half a dozen in the other. It's really going to work out about the same. So, I think this will actually work. The bond will actually work out cheaper per year, because I don't believe the original lease option was for 30 years. So it was a lease with a $0 buyout, where they took ownership, so lease to own. Now they're just going to own them. This is, I think it's a step in the right direction. They own the Village's Public Safety, while Village Center Community Development District, Village's Public Safety, owns the fire stations, and that's the end of it. So let's talk about 50. Anybody heard of 50 yet? About 49. If you watched some of my previous videos, you saw 49. 49 is where the temporary, if you're going down Central Parkway and you're heading towards the turnpike, okay, all of a sudden it takes, and you go on that temporary road, the 2-lane temporary road, and that connects over to 470, the original 470. Well, at that traffic circle, if you head due south and you go just beyond the power lines where the old 470 used to run, that's where 49 is going in, and they've started work on it. But 50. So if you read yesterday's paper, they said 50 is going to be serving the Lake County area. So where would that be? Now, where do we have an issue with firefighting response time in Lake County? Could it be Dabney, Lake Denham, and Newell? Probably so. right now they're relying on either 47 or 48 to respond, and that's a long response time. So, there was a lot of interest in the work going on just south of 470 and Megason Road that was cleared a while ago. Ding, 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 ding. That's where I think it's going. It's definitely needed down there. I think the response time, let's face it, if you live in the enclave, wow, and they got and Station 47 has to respond, that's a long haul. That's a real long haul. Because 47's up there by Chitty Chatty. 48, it's a pretty long haul too. And I don't know where the nearest Leesburg fire station is or Lake County fire station that would serve it otherwise. All right. We got a couple of questions coming in here, looks like. Don asked, do garage skins need ARC approval? Not that I am aware of. They've checked. They've submitted. They said they don't need it because it's not a permanent change. You can remove these. So not required. Let's see, Frank says, shingles come off during tornadoes and completely wipe out subdivisions in the Midwest. New shingles are ripped off hurricanes, inland tornado winds. Yep. Gregor says, I finally won the lottery and snagged a new build in Richmond. Really excited to move to the Village of Sin. Well, congratulations. You're going to the new section of Richmond. That's awesome. Two things surprised me. One, they are not putting any gutters, even over entryway to houses there. And two, they don't run fiber, just cable for internet. So let's talk about the gutters first. I bought my investment property down in Moultrie Creek, and I have gutters. There was gutters over the entryway. My friend Jim, he bought the exact same floor plan over in Shady Brook Verandas. So he's, less than half a mile away and only, 2 or 3 months behind, and no rain gutters. So personally, I like rain gutters. I think they're important. I had Hills seamless gutters, put them in at my investment property all the way around. It's going to vary based on linear footage, excuse me, on how much it's going to cost. I think mine cost me right at $1,100. Was it worth it? Yes, I absolutely believe it was worth it. In fact, I think it was the first thing I had done to that new house. Let's see. And fiber. So yeah, fiber is put in by the telecommunications company that wants to put it in. Centric, I think it is. Yeah, I think it's Centric Fiber did the Newell and Shady Brook area, or Newell. I'm sorry, Moultrie Creek and Shady Brook area. My house here in Hillsboro, where I'm sitting right now, it has fiber to the door. And that was, this house was built over 10 and a half years ago. I've been here 10 and a half years, and we've had fiber the entire time. So it really is based on, what they negotiate and what they're, if they're able to get the services on the right time frame, which is a huge thing, keeping a schedule here. Some areas have fiber, some do not. If you have a good internet connection via cable, you can get 150, 200 megabits per second, I believe. I know I've had up 100 before I shifted over to fiber. Mike Long says, the fence behind Newell Loop blew over during the hurricane, affecting over 20 neighbors. It looks like the fence was not installed to the manufacturing specs. The village refuses to fix. Fences blow over. My Moultrie Creek home had some fence damage. We got it fixed. I'm not sure where Newell Loop is, but it's obviously part of the villages. It looks like the fence was not installed to the manufacturer's spec, so I'm not even going to touch that. I mean, you're making a claim that yeah, that's up for you to substantiate. The villages refuses to fix. Read your deed restrictions. You'll find that you're responsible for the fence. If you have been paying attention to what's going on in the northern sections of the villages, along where they're building Thousand Oaks, there's Twisted Oaks, Oak Hammock, that's what it is. Oak Hammock, which is just to the east of the villages, between the villages and Lady Lake. There's a lot of controversy over the fence there. You're responsible for the fence. I have a block wall behind my house, okay? And it's, halfway around my house because I have a corner lot. I got a lot of block wall. I am responsible for that. They're responsible for maintaining the outside of it. They'll paint it and all that. The inside, though, I have to paint. I have to maintain the wall. So villages refuses to fix. They're not going to fix it because you agreed that you own it. That's the bottom line. Let's see. Frank says minutes counts. Before 5 to 10 minutes, possible permanent brain damage. Every minute counts. Yes. Frank is a doctor. I know Frank. He's a friend of mine. And you're right. I mean, it's, minutes do count. And I'll say it, especially at our age. None of us are getting any younger here in the villages. And it's important that we get prompt service. That was really the driving force behind the ambulances being brought in-house. And if you look, we went from 6 ambulances serving the county to 18 ambulances, or I'm not sure the exact number today, but it's 18, 19 ambulances serving all of Sumter County. That's a huge improvement, and response times have improved tremendously. So that's a good thing. Let's see here. So we talked about Station 50. Boom, 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 boom. Oh yeah, Victoria. Thank you once again. Every week you're so generous. I appreciate the donation. Let's talk for just a second. I'm going to switch over. I'm going to do this right this time. I'm going to put you on the. There we go. So I'm on the Daily Sun webpage, and the phone book, they're getting ready to put out an updated phone book. You have until the end of the month to get it updated. So here's the way you do it. You go to Villages Media, and then right down here it says Residential Directory Information Update. Click on that, and you got this form. And this is how you update the phone directory, or opt out if you'd care to opt out. Takes 2 minutes to do. If you've moved and you've not updated, this is how you update it. The days of the phone company keeping track of everybody, that's long gone. Again, you go to thevillagesdailysun.com, and again, it's Villages Media, and then Residential Directory Information Update. Go there and update this. This is really the only phone book we have here in the villages that has any kind of accuracy. I know I don't have a house phone anymore. I haven't had one for years. My wife and I each have our own cell phone, and that's our connection to the world. So be sure you update this. Let's see. Whew. All right, let's go back to the other camera. Hey, look at that. I'm getting this. We talked about landowner elections. Oh yeah. So I want to talk again about sprinklers and the water. if you, the day after Milton came through, if you did any driving around and you looked at these retention ponds, holy mackerel, they were full. Shallow Creek Golf Course, nah, wasn't Shallow Creek. It was Deep Lake. It was full. I got some video footage of it. That'll be out in 150, as well as some footage that was taken a week later. It was actually shot this morning. Big differences. They're pumping water like crazy to get it down. The water can't be moved all over the villages. Basically, in each phase of the villages, the water system is contained. So if you're living south of Monarch Grove, all the way down to 470, that's one area, and the water can be moved between the retention ponds down there and used down there for golf course watering, what have you. We can't steal water from above 44 and bring it down here to fill the ponds. It doesn't work that way. But they're doing their best to get these pumped down. I've heard people say, well, let's use our home sprinkler systems. Nice idea, okay? But the first logistics issue is controlling the flow. The pumps are only so big, they can only pump a certain capacity of water, okay? And if you try and draw more water than that, because they're an impeller pump, they're not a positive displacement pump, the pressure will drop as the volume starts to increase until you get to a point where there's not enough pressure to actually move the water. So how do you control 10,000 residents using the sprinkler system? There's no way to do it. So allowing the residents to use that water and get it for free, it just doesn't work. And then, of course, billing and that, how do you say, well, I used this water this week when the water was free, but they only read the meters once a month. What are you going to read them 3 times a month, 4 times a month? It just, the logistics of it is just a real nightmare. That's why also you see when they're using water right now, you drive down Central Parkway or you drive down Buena Vista or Morse, and they got the sprinklers running, but they're not running the full length of the road. They're only running in a certain segment, okay, because they have a limited pumping capacity. It's enough to serve the purpose, but it's not enough to run and completely water everything all at once. There you go. Whew, boy, touched on a lot of things today. Anybody else got any questions? Help me out here. Where are we at? We got about 12 more minutes of the show. At least that's what I schedule. If we go longer, we go longer. Don't forget, folks, early voting starts this week. Depending on, you can go to any of the early voting locations. If you're not sure where they are, you go to sumterelections.org and it will show you where all the early voting locations are. You can also punch in and it'll tell you where your election day voting precinct is. And on election day, you can only go to your precinct and vote. If you go to the wrong precinct, you can't vote there. You've got to go to your appropriate precinct on that day. For early voting, you can go to any of the early voting stations. Let's see. Victoria says, is there anything when downsizing you wish you would have brought with you to the villages? Yes, a bigger wallet. No, I mean, I say that no, I'm not jesting. It seems like, you put something in, it's like, well, it looked good in the old house. Nah, it doesn't look good in this house. This is, there's a difference between a Wisconsin house and a Florida house and the way you want it to feel. And it's funny, you go to places like, what is it? Bargains and Blessings is one of them. There's several used clothing and furniture places here in the villages, and you can get some great buys. They got some beautiful stuff there. But one of the things I did notice is a lot of it is it's very dark wood, a lot of dark stuff, a lot of stuff that is more appropriate, fitting, um, more attuned to lifestyles in the north and not so much in the villages. People tend to have, lighter colors, floral patterns, things like that down here in Florida. So that would be, probably would bring less, to be honest with you. Many things like, I really like this table. The heck with it. Let's sell it at a yard sale, and let's buy something new. You're getting a fresh start, so why not start anew? Obviously there's some things like, well, coats. I went through my coat closet. Oh my gosh, I got so many coats I don't know what to do with. I got a Carhartt jacket that I put it on, and within 30 seconds I was sweating. It was so thick. Anyway, something I think I wish I would have brought, again, a bigger wallet would be the only thing I would say. But beyond that, no, not when downsizing. Diane wants to know any news on the progress of golf cart modal on Marsh Bend Trail. Nothing yet. And I went by it this morning when I was out flying, and there were people on it. You're taking chances. It's still a construction area. If you get a flat, you got nobody to blame for yourself. I mean, because there's all kinds of construction debris out there. It's probably going to be, if I were to guess, by the first of the year, it'll be open. But that would be the best best guess I can give you right now. If I hear something, obviously, I'm going to share it with everybody. All right. Muskie says, vote Don Wiley for Sumter County. Yeah, thank you, Muskie. Yeah, don't forget, the election is coming up. If you don't know what the ballot looks like, there was one that came in the mail, a sample ballot for everybody in your household. All right, let's see what we got here. Victoria's laughing at my response. Yeah, you laugh, okay. You'll say that until you start writing checks for new furniture and things, and you're going, I should have brought a bigger wallet. Anyway, Sherry says, hi, Don. Has there been any talk about restricting Airbnbs in the villages? They're not allowed in so many different neighborhoods in Florida, and I'm just wondering why the villages isn't strict about them. Just curious. These vacation lodgings, let's call them that, have very strong lobbying power in the Florida legislature, and understandably so. I mean, tourism is a huge part of Florida and the Florida economy. It's our biggest driver. I, like you, do not like the Airbnbs in our neighborhoods. I think they're disruptive. People tend to not care about the neighborhood. They're disruptive. I'll leave it at that. But unfortunately, the district government has basically no power. Neither does the county government on restricting these things. Other communities, when they establish their deed restrictions and their HOA rules, if they're establishing an HOA, that falls under a different section of Florida law than the community development district does, and it gives them other authorities that this community development district does not have. But would I like to see them banned? I absolutely would. I guess one of the real annoying things with the Airbnbs is so many of them, the people that are renting them, aren't reporting the income. Okay, they're not paying the taxes. And that was one of the complaints that many of the hotels in that had was we had a 1% tourism tax, and they were the only ones paying it. But we had people renting their house out as an Airbnb, which is basically a hotel, and they weren't paying this tax, and there's no way of tracking it. And that's the other problem. The state was going to implement some additional restrictions, but they gave the law no teeth. They gave the counties no ability to enforce it. Oh, Jerry, please. Okay. Diane, I'll get back to your question in a minute. Jerry just says, how did you learn to hit the ball so good? So poor, you mean, Jerry? So, like I said, Jerry and I played at a golf tournament this past week, or yesterday, and Jerry was crushing the ball. I mean, if he'd hit it any harder, it would have gone into orbit. Some of them really just went skyrocketing. He hits a good long ball. Says he doesn't play much. Okay, neither do I. But he's a much better golfer than I am. I play normally every week. Okay, I get a good laugh every week. Anyway, Diane says, any news on the grocery stores in Eastport and Middleton? So when I was flying Middleton this morning, they have put up a fence, the typical construction debris fence, around the area where the grocery store is supposed to go. And you can see the grounds being prepped. So there's that. That's happening in Middleton. In Eastport, I looked at that area again today also, and I saw no movement whatsoever. I will tell you though, there is so much going on inside Eastport. It is unbelievable. The sheer magnitude of that project is mind-boggling at this point. And you can see all the pieces coming together. I did a relatively low flight. I flew right down Eastport Drive, which is the main road. Bar Boulevard changes to Eastport Drive when you cross Central Parkway headed north. And man, so much happening, so much going on. And that'll be in 150. I'll show you that stuff. But it's amazing. They've got the roof now on the enclosed athletic area. What do you call it? The gymnasium, if you want to call it a gymnasium, if you will, at the Olympia Recreation Center. The roofs are all on the Olympia Recreation Center. Building 12, which is the sales office and sales and marketing offices for the villages. That they're working interior work on that now. I drove by the other night. Lights are on. Obviously they've got power inside the building and they're working on it. Most of Olympia Rec Center is sealed up. It's what's called dried in. So they've got the envelope complete. So now they can run the air conditioning. You got to run the air conditioning and suck the humidity down, especially here in Florida. You don't want any humidity when you're building it, so that the drywall and the paint and everything goes together well. Okay, Jerry, what's this? You are like the Energizer Bunny. Just go, go, go. Middleton this morning. I could hardly get out of bed. Jerry, I was up this morning at 5, same as yesterday. And, you do what you got to do. I knew that I had to get out today because today is the only time I can shoot my video footage in Middleton and Eastport because of the construction workers. There's so many of them in there. It's too hard to try and fly around them and ensure that I don't fly over them, which is what's required under 14 CFR 107, which is Part 107, which is the rules I have to fly under for drone flying. So yeah, Sunday's my morning to get out there and try and get that footage. And if I don't get it Sunday morning, I got to do it in the afternoon or in the evening. And normally the winds come up, and even this morning the winds were coming up. It was crazy. Let's see. JV in the villages. Do you think it's fair that the residents of the villages have to pay for the refurbishing of the boardwalk? Doesn't seem fair since it's open to the public. It should come out of taxes. Okay. It's this is a tough one. Okay. It falls under the what's called enclosure Appendix A of the project-wide agreement. Okay, just like many of the other things in the rest of the community development districts, many of the district properties, okay, they fall under the Exhibit A of the project-wide agreement. And in that, we agree to maintain those. Now, there is no project-wide agreement north of 466, so they have to maintain all their own. So this is it's government property, and if you think about it, okay. What is a tax? A tax is money you have to pay a government body that you have no say over. Okay? They levy the tax and you have to pay it. So that means that technically, well, I guess not technically, under the law it's not, but our maintenance assessment is a tax. Okay? It's a government body, or CDD. They're levying a fee, and we have no choice but to pay it, okay? And that goes to maintain the public assets. And that's what's happening here. That being said, this whole thing of the boardwalk, it came up pretty suddenly that they wanted to add it to Exhibit A. And then, let's add it to Exhibit A. And, by the way, it needs $3 million worth of refurbishment. Excuse me? What? My gut reaction is you fix it first on your dime and then come see the residents, because it is the residents that pay the bulk of the fees in Exhibit A. Now, it is public property, but it's not state or county property. It belongs to the community development districts. So, I don't have, had it been on the Exhibit A for the last 5 years and then it needed work, yeah, I wouldn't even blink an eye, because that's part of the agreement. But the way this one transpired, I didn't feel good about it. I was unfortunately not on that board at the time when those decisions were made. So I'm not going to try and second guess their logic. Let's see. Harperville Real Estate wants to know, hi, Don, will there be an anonymous complaint system in CDD 15? God, I hope so. I hope so. It doesn't matter who files the complaint. If you're wrong, you're wrong, okay? If you're speeding, you're speeding. It doesn't matter if the state trooper catches you, or the county police catch you, or the city police catch you, okay? Just because you don't live in that city doesn't mean that you don't have to follow the rules. The only thing that getting rid of anonymous complaints enables is retribution. And that's the only purpose for getting rid of it. This stuff of, I want to know my accuser, it's bunk, okay? The problem is that you agreed to maintain your property to certain standards, and you're not. So the accuser is the documents you signed, okay? Who reported it is completely irrelevant. And I hope that the anonymous complaints doesn't go away. let's see. Greg R says, do the CDDs insure any of their assets, i.e., now the boardwalk is underwater due to Milton? Could an insurance claim cover the refurbish cost? Yes, they have some insurance. I don't know. I don't know if it's covering that particular asset or not. That's an interesting question. It's one I'll ask Mr. Blocker next time I see him. He would know that. But in fact, I'll probably text him right after the show and find out. Naperville says, again, we are looking to snag a lot in February or March. Any idea of where they will be selling lots then? You're the best. In the villages south of 44. I mean, February, March, you know, I'll tell you what I see right now. They're selling lots in, I keep reading the south of Monarch Grove. Wellpoint. They're selling lots in Wellpoint. In fact, I think some of them, I think they may be all sold out. We can pull it up and look here in a minute. But they're also now selling lots in Water's Edge. So that's where the new focus is going to be. You know, they started Wellpoint. They're going to get that section going. Now Water's Edge is coming up. What comes after Water's Edge? Probably the south side of McNeil Drive. That's another section of Wellpoint. And then when you start moving south of that, probably Oak Hollow, because that's much farther along than Edenfield. Beyond that, I mean, and that's only looking a couple of months down the road. It is so hard, you know, when you get a month or two out, it's pretty easy to see what's coming. It's just a matter of getting the exact timing. That's the challenge. You know, if I were to throw a dart at the wall, probably February, March, you're probably looking at about at the south side of McNeil Drive there in Wellpoint. Yeah, everybody hit the thumbs up. Appreciate it. We are at an hour and 8 minutes, folks. You know what? Let's take a look and see what is selling right now, because I haven't looked in a couple of days. So we're going to go back over to the web browser. I'm on the Village's website. Homes, search homes. Come on. There we go. All right. Oh, look at that. Nothing. There's McNeil. Okay, so you can see we got a bunch of lots over here. These are all, oops, sorry. These are all lots here, the brown dots. So there's a lot of lots being sold. These are all sold over here. Over here, there was spec homes. There's some spec homes coming up. This area right here is going to be what they call it, lifestyle preview, as well as this area here. I'm not sure about these two sets of villas. Then we come over here. You see all the yellow dots. Those are sold. You know, that's Sophie, whatever. You know, there's a couple of homes, courtyard villas that are left for sale. But when we go, let's go south a little bit. There's Eastport, and you can see down here, there's a whole lot going on in, this is Water's Edge down here. So all these lots here sold really quickly. Sorry, I'm still getting used to this Mac mouse. It and I don't always see eye to eye on the right way to do things. Still a lot available in, this is Moultrie Creek, a lot of spec homes there. Let's turn off the pending sales. That cleans it up a little bit. Looks like some pre-owns. That makes no sense. But they've started construction right here on Courtyard Villas, and I believe, I want to say it's these right here are under construction now too. These are patio villas. So there's a lot happening down there, and it's just picking up speed. All right. Okay. We had a couple of things come in at the end. Does Sumter County mail out tax bills? And is that for 24, 25? Yeah, they mail them out, and you should be getting them anytime now. And I don't know which is that says 24 or 25. I never really paid attention. I just paid the bill. You know what I mean? Yes, Don. Okay, let's see. Kyle says, yes, Don, if you get there, you can almost see what's coming next. Get out there and go. You always meet a new friend. Okay, great. And thank you for another great informative video. Well, thank you, Patty. All right. So again, as always, enjoy life. We're only on here for just a few trips around the big ball, and it would be a shame to waste that time. Life is short, but we are very fortunate to live here in this country. Be sure to vote in the November election. We're very fortunate if we're living here in the Villages, and it's a beautiful place. We should count our blessings. Thank you all once again for watching the show, and we will do this again next week. I'm Don, and that is the show.
A new wood garage door? Kelly, that's going to cost a fortune.
It might not be as bad as you think. Let's crunch some numbers. Here's the perfect solution. We're going to use garage skins.
Garage skins?
Upgrade your home today with Garage Skins, the simple and elegant solution that transforms your garage door in minutes without breaking the bank. Easy, affordable, beautiful.